ladies and gents. Welcome for joining us. We will give a minute or two to see if anybody joins us. Today, Larissa is actually doing some other things today. We can hear her in the background, getting some of our packages and stuff ready. So it is going to be me on a solo mission today. Usually it's Larissa who's by herself, but we're switching it up today. What can I say? So you're stuck with me. All right, we are going to do a little game called Fact or Fiction. So I'm going to ask you questions, and it's only going to be a true or a false answer. So if you think you know, go ahead and type it in, which will be great. If you don't know, that's okay. You got a 50-50 shot. If nobody's on live, it doesn't seem like there's anybody on yet. We will just kind of move through. But I do have a handy dandy joke book if needed in between. By the time I give you some questions and whether or not we need some more time or not. All right? So we are going to, and I apologize for my hair. It's not working today, but I didn't want everybody to think I was bald because my hair was like back in a bun. It's very important that you know that I still have my hair. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the very first question for fact or fiction. Abraham Lincoln had a middle name. True or false? What do you think? True or false? And I'll read a little question while a little joke. This is under the heading, Courting Troubles. A man is taking a woman home from the first date. He asks if he can come inside. Oh no, she says. I never ask a guy on the first date. Okay, the man replies. How about a last date? Oh, I never ask a guy in on the first date. Okay, the man replies. How about the last date? Ba-bum-ba. All right, the answer is true. Abraham Lincoln did not have a middle name. He was only known as Abraham Lincoln. Question number 2. Germany drinks the most beer in the world per capita or per person. What do you think? Does Germany drink the most beer per person or per capita in the world? What do you think? True or false? Tammy, I'm not looking to get involved with one particular guy right now, Al. Al, well, lucky for you, Tammy, I'm not exactly known for being particular. Kind of cute. We'll take it. All right. Germany drinks the most beer in the world per person per capita is false. It is actually the Czech Republic. Next one. Ronald Reagan was a waiter during high school. True or false? Was Ronald Reagan a lifeguard, a waiter during high school? I kind of gave it away. It is false. He was a lifeguard. I'm sorry, Tash, you have to move, honey. Scoot your bum. You're like right in. Sorry, my dog's at my feet here. Yeah, go lay down for a minute. There we go. I don't want to step on her. The kids' bathroom on the Brady Bunch didn't have a toilet. True or false? These are very random questions that are out there. There's no categories, no headings. It's just very random. What do you think? When you were watching the Brady Bunch and you've seen the scenes in the bathroom, did they have a toilet in there? The answer is they did not. It is true they did not have a toilet in there. All right, this one's from Nemo. There is a Disney show called Finding Nemo. For those of you who maybe watch Disney movies with your grandchildren, great-grandchildren, it says Nemo is a puffer fish. True or false? Nemo being a puffer fish, true or false? While riding a bus, I overheard one woman ask another, with great curiosity, "Well, what happened to your date with that dashing Prince Lancelot?" "Yuck," was Disillusion's reply. "He was more like a disgusting Prince Lust-a-lot, and I was the one who needed the suit of armor." So that's a little racy joke. Women, unfortunately, I feel like we've all kind of been there at one point. All right, it says Nemo was a clownfish, so it would be false. Nemo is a clownfish. For all you sports buffs, especially baseball, there was no World Series in 1994. True or false? Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Toronto Blue Jays won 1991, 92, and 92, 93, which means in 1994, was there a World Series? Or was there not? There was no World Series in 1994? The answer is true. In 1994, the baseball players were on strike, so there was no World Series. That would have been a very sad season. I do remember little bits of the season. I believe it was the lockout, right? And that's why everything kind of shut down around the same time, maybe as the hockey players went on strike a couple of years after that. All right, next question. This one's more of a musical buff might know this one. John Lennon's middle name was Edward. True or false? Is that statement fact or fiction? John Lennon's middle name was Edward. Fact or fiction? The answer is, it is false. His middle name was Winston. John Winston Lennon. Here's a very random trivia. Broccoli was once banned from the White House. True or false? What do you think? Broccoli was once banned from the White House. True or false? Not like the president nowadays, where he's all about McDonald's. Somebody, maybe they didn't like broccoli, and they were like, no broccoli in this White House. The answer, believe it or not, is true. In 1990, George H.W. Bush claimed broccoli would no longer be in the White House. That's a pretty serious dislike for a vegetable, if you ask me. It's very random. All right, next question. Japan has square watermelons. Fact or fiction? I've always seen kind of oval watermelons, maybe some circles, spheres. I have to admit, I've never seen a square watermelon, but I'm intrigued by it, and I would buy them. Because how many times, ladies and gentlemen, do we get a watermelon, we slice it up, and you can't sit it properly because it's kind of cockeyed. So you have to sort it this way, and then it's not easy packing. What do you think? Does Japan have square watermelons? The answer is true. Believe it or not, they do have square watermelons. They build these little boxes, I guess, and when the watermelon starts to grow, they put them in these boxes, so then when the watermelon expands, it actually forms to the casing, and that's how they end up with their square watermelon. We should all do that fruit in squares. So much easier. All right, our next one. Pinocchio was the first animated full-color Walt Disney feature film. Pinocchio was the first animated full-color Walt Disney feature film. Is that statement fact or is it fiction? What do you think? We'll give it a minute here. It is false. It was in fact Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It was the very first full-color film was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. All right, number 11. In the Star Wars franchise movies, the voice of Yoda is played by the same person who did the voices of Miss Piggy, Grover, and Cookie Monster. Fact or fiction? Is it the same person who does Yoda is also the voice of Miss Piggy, Grover, and the Cookie Monster? That could be tricky. What do you think? It is actually true. The voices are performed by Frank Oz, the same gentleman who does all of those. So good for him. He obviously had a very nice voice, and he was able to do multiple voices, right? Here's a different one. Porcupines can float. Is that fact or fiction? Porcupines can float. I can honestly say I've never seen one float. Doesn't mean it's not true, or it doesn't mean it's not true. The answer is true. Porcupines, for whatever reason, cannot float or cannot sink. They float. Maybe it's because the quills are hollow or something. I don't even know if that's the case. I'm totally just guessing. But it is pretty interesting. And one of these days, we'll have to go through and find out why they don't float or why they don't sink. All right, number 13. There are 100 dimples on a golf ball. True or false? I've heard some numbers. The numbers to me, I always thought it seemed like a lot, so I don't know if it's true or not. So what do you think? Is this statement fact or fiction? There are 100 dimples on a golf ball. The answer is false. Per the Department of Physics at the University of Illinois, there are between 300 and 500 dimples on a golf ball. So one of these days, maybe if you're bored at home and you're golfing, count them up for us and let us know the exact number, all right? This one, when I was doing these questions, I thought it was really interesting, and I definitely want some more information on it. Before becoming queen, Queen Elizabeth was a mechanic. Fact or fiction? So where would that even come from? Was she a mechanic? Was she not? Was she maybe doing something else? It's a very random fact that she may or may not have been a mechanic. And in this case, it is true. It says Queen Elizabeth, I'm assuming it's Queen Mum, like Queen Elizabeth I, was a mechanic. It is completely true. I don't have any other information about it, but I would like to because I think that's a pretty neat thing. All right, our next question. All the kings in a standard deck of cards have a mustache. All the kings in a standard deck of cards all have mustaches. Fact or fiction? Think about playing cards and you have all those kings in your hand. Do they or do they not have a mustache? I don't know. The statement is false. It is only the King of Hearts that does not have a mustache. I never would have known that, ladies and gents. All right. In some states, it is illegal to eat specific foods while walking backwards. Is that statement fact or fiction? In some states, it's illegal to eat specific foods while walking backwards. These are very different questions. I was very proud of them when I found them because they are so all over the place and just so, you need to know this stuff, right? All right. It says, true. You may not eat donuts and walk backwards in Marion, Ohio. You may not eat peanuts and walk backwards during a concert in Green, New York. And you may not walk backwards while eating a hamburger in Oklahoma City. Now we're smarter people. We know that you cannot eat these foods while walking backwards. which brings me to the question, why? Why would somebody want to walk backwards while eating? And what happened to make these laws, right? That's where it kind of goes tricky for me. All right, here's one that I know. Super Mario Brothers, so we're going way back until like the 90s, or no, way before the 90s. In the 80s, the Nintendo systems came out. And one of their video games was, or their kinds or names was the Mario Brothers. Were they based on being a carpenter? Mario Brothers, Mario of the Super Mario Brothers fame was once a carpenter. True or false? What do you think? True or false? Ladies and gentlemen, it is true. He was first introduced as a carpenter in the video game in Donkey Kong. I remember, if you ever played the Mario Brother games, he always had his overalls, and there was always a hammer and things like that, so it totally makes sense to me. I thought that for sure was true. All right, we're going back to baseball. The Boston Red Sox finally won a World Series in 2016. The Boston Red Sox finally won a World Series in 2016. I will tell you that it was a pretty significant win for the team who won, whether it be or not be the Boston Red Sox. It had been a long time since they had won. Who do you think won? Was it the Boston Red Sox or not, who won the World Series in 2016? It is, oh, hi Jillian. The statement was actually false. The Chicago Cubs won the series after 108 years. So that's why it was so significant. It wasn't actually Boston. It was the Chicago Cubs, who were the 2016 World Series champs, which after 108 years, I think they deserve it. All right. Cows sleep standing up. Is this statement fact or is it fiction? What do you think? All those people living on a farm, you're driving past the farm, you see them laying down a lot. Are they sleeping? Maybe relaxing? Hopefully they're still alive. What do you think? Cows sleep standing up. That would be true. They do sleep standing up, which is so bizarre. You wouldn't ever think that something can sleep standing up, but I think horses do it too, don't they? I could be wrong. I'm not much of a farmer. But I feel like there is a couple of animals that will sleep standing up. All right, ladies and gents. Polar bears, their skin is black. Fact or fiction? What do you think? The polar bear's skin is black. Fact or fiction? It is true. Even though their fur is white, their skin is black, which is very interesting. Just like silky chickens, for those of you who know the silky chickens, their skin is blue, which I went to a grocery store one day and I seen a blue chicken and I thought, what in the heck is wrong with this blue chicken? Why is it blue? And that's when somebody said it's a silky chicken. And my girlfriend had, she had all these different chickens, and one of them was a silky, and I said, I'm afraid of birds, so I didn't get close, but I said, is his skin blue? And sure enough, it was blue, and I thought that is so different. All right. The first Olympic Games honored Alexander the Great. Fact or fiction? The first Olympic Games honored Alexander the Great. Fact or fiction? That statement is false. They honored Zeus, the king of the Greek gods, which makes sense, because wasn't the very first Olympics ever began in Greece? Pretty sure it did, way back in the day. The United States postage stamp may only honor people who are dead. Fact or fiction? I know some of the stamps I've seen have been Queen Elizabeth. Oh no, those are Canadian, not American. Elvis, some other people, Martin Luther King. A lot of the presidents, I think, had their own stamps at one point, did they not? So United postage stamps may only honor people who are dead. Fact or fiction? It is fiction. In 2011, that rule was overturned. So that's pretty good. I can assure you it's probably only a matter of time until we see tons of Trump stamps out there, if there's not already. It seems like he might have a face on everything. All right, next one. The name of Batman's butler is Albert. If anybody ever watched Batman, I personally did not. My husband's watched the movies a couple of times. I don't honestly pay attention. They're good movies. I'm just not much of a movie buff. But they were in comics. They've been around for a very long time. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? The name of Batman's butler is Albert. It is false. His butler's name was Alfred. Very close, but a little bit different. So if you knew that one, good for you. 24. Mayim Bleak, who played Amy Fowler on The Big Bang Theory, is a neuroscientist. Not on the show, but the actual actress who played Amy Farrah Fowler, was she a neuroscientist? I'll give you a little hint. In one of the very early episodes of The Big Bang Theory, for those of you who watched the show, they were looking for somebody to help them in the physics bowl. And Raj had said to the rest of the gang, you know who I hear is very smart? The girl who played Blossom, which actually is the same lady who eventually joins the Big Bang Theory, and she is actually true. She is a neuroscientist. She earned her PhD in neuroscience in 2007. So good for her. This one I think is a trick question because I have never heard of this in my life. I'm so young, it's not a long life. But Donald Duck's sister's name is Donna. Is that fact or fiction? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't remember ever hearing Donald Duck's sister's name. No matter what it was, no recollection of her name at all. I know he had nieces, or not nieces, nephews, but no idea where they came from. Never heard his sister's name. It ends up, Donald Duck's sister's name is not Donna, but it is Dumbella, which I guess it is what it is, because I never heard of it. Twinkies, Americans' favorite snack, originally had a banana filling. Twinkies originally had a banana filling. Is that statement fact or fiction? What do you think? It is true. I don't think I've ever had a Twinkie. I know people were crazy about them when they thought they were going to stop making them and were stockpiling them. But originally it had a banana filling. All right. Alabama is the state printed on Jack Daniel's label. So in the liquor bottle of Jack Daniel's, what state is on the label? Is it Alabama? True or false? Do, 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 do. The answer is false. It is actually Tennessee. Tennessee, when you're looking at the Jack Daniel's bottle, from what I can remember, you will actually see the outline of the state Tennessee, which is pretty cool. Fact or fiction? Elvis Presley had a twin brother. I feel like a lot of you will know this very, very quickly. He did have a huge following. Not a lot of people don't know a lot about him, actually. That I personally don't, but I know more than I would think. Just, as obviously he was in his prime before my time. but the answer is true. That unfortunately, he passed away at birth. So it's very sad, but thankfully we all have Elvis. Question 29. Lightning never strikes the same place twice. What do you think? It's a long saying. It's been a very famous saying. Oh, don't worry, lightning never hits the same place twice. Lightning never strikes the same place twice. Is there any truth to that? Fact or fiction? It is false. It is fiction. Lightning can strike anywhere, anytime, any amount of times. There is no reason why it wouldn't go to the same place. It could be very highly unlikely in most cases, but nonetheless, it can happen. So that is what it is, right? It can happen anywhere, more than once. The name of the dog on the box of Cracker Jack's Spot. Oh, sorry. The name on the dog on the box of the Cracker Jacks is Spot. Fact or fiction? The name on the dog on the box of Cracker Jacks is Spot. I don't remember seeing a dog on the box of Cracker Jacks, but I thought it was an elephant. I could be wrong. It could be before this. So one more time, the name of the dog on a box of Cracker Jacks is Spot. It is false. The dog's name is Bingo. There is a city in Pennsylvania. Sorry, this question is a little racy, but I'm going to say it. There is a city in Pennsylvania called Intercourse. Is that true or false? Fact or fiction? What do you think? There is a city in Pennsylvania called Intercourse. It is true. Why they would ever come up with that, I don't know. But I'm sure it was good intentions and a clean mind. All right. People in Japan eat Kentucky Fried Chicken for Christmas dinner. Fact or fiction? That's a different one.
I know this one.
Do you? I do too, which is shocking.
I don't know how come.
People in Japan eat Kentucky Fried Chicken for Christmas dinner. Fact or fiction? What do you think? The answer is true. And what I read about it a long time ago was it actually started with the power of advertising. That whatever their advertising that KFC was doing in Japan picked up, and it's just gotten bigger and bigger. And now it's almost a tradition where instead of going to their houses like we do here and have turkey and everything else, they get KFC. And I'm kind of thinking they might be onto something, because there's probably a lot less dishes with KFC that are, really huge family dinners. All right, the first food grown and eaten in space was potatoes. The first food grown and eaten in space was potatoes. Does anybody remember hearing about this? Because I think it was a pretty big deal back when it happened. It was back in 2015, so holy cow, it was 5 years ago. I thought maybe 3, but 5 years ago it happened. It is false. The first food to be grown and eaten in the space was actually romaine lettuce. One of our astronauts actually planted a little bit. It must have been in the space station or wherever, and it worked and he ate it. So it says the first food grown and consumed was romaine lettuce in 2015. Here's a tricky one. Fortune cookies were invented in China. Fortune cookies were invented in China. What do you think? Fortune cookies, they're pretty much, you think fortune cookie, you think Chinese, right? So they kind of go hand in hand. What do you think? It is actually false. Fortune cookies were invented in the United States. I'm not sure what happened, where the Chinese food culture took it over. But anyways, that's what happened. So even though the States invented it, we think Chinese food, we think fortune cookie. All right, next one. Red M&Ms disappeared for a decade. Fact or fiction? M&Ms, just the red M&Ms. Did they disappear for a decade? I don't know if anybody's had any M&Ms lately, but do you see red M&Ms in there? It is true. That is a fact statement. They were banned in 1976 over concerns about red dye and returned to the scene in the late 1980s. So that's interesting. There was some concern about the food dye, so they were like, nope, that's it. No more red dye for M&Ms at least. And eventually they came back in, so we can have red M&Ms. All right, last question, ladies and gentlemen, for fact and fiction, or fact or fiction. Barack Obama's favorite app on his cell phone is Candy Crush. What do you think? Candy Crush is a game where you want to line up 3 or 4 things, and I played it way too long. I finally broke my Candy Crush addiction, so I do not. But what do you think? He made this claim in an interview with Barbara Walters. Was his favorite app Candy Crush? Fact or fiction? It is fiction. He's actually said that his favorite app is Scrabble. I'm super excited now because my favorite phone app right now is Scrabble. Every night I'm going to bed, I'm playing Scrabble by myself. I don't know how smart the computer is, but I keep winning, so I'm loving that. It boosts my ego and my self-esteem and my vocabulary, which is really nice. So, all right, ladies and gents, it was just a small one today, which is awesome. So we are going to bid you adieu. Hopefully, it looks like it's going to rain outside again today for some reason. We just can't seem to get a nice pure day for all day and to continue a little bit. But we will be back in the morning with exercise at 9:30, and then we will have a great afternoon program at 2 o'clock. All right, I bid you adieu. Have a great day and stay safe, my friends. Bye-bye.